Rory McIlroy has finally spoken out about the controversial moment that dominated headlines from the Ryder Cup at Bethpage Black. What began as a prestigious golf tournament descended into something far more chaotic, with alcohol-fueled crowds hurling insults and relentless chants until McIlroy reached his breaking point, responding with a single defiant gesture. His explanation raises an important question. Was this an act of disrespect, or simply a man defending himself against an out-of-control audience? The tension exploded during Saturday's four-ball match, when McIlroy and Shane Lowry faced off against Justin Thomas and Cameron Young. Rather than receiving the traditional golf gallery respect, McIlroy was immediately targeted with hostility. From the opening tee, spectators at Bethpage unleashed coordinated profane chants directed specifically at him. These weren't isolated incidents but synchronized attacks that erupted each time he prepared to strike the ball. Despite the abuse, he maintained composure, executing birdie after birdie and sinking crucial putts while appearing to ignore the relentless harassment. The pivotal moment came after Lowry secured victory on the 11th hole. Cameras captured McIlroy glancing back at the jeering masses before raising his left hand in an unmistakable gesture. Though it lasted only seconds, the middle finger was immediately captured, clipped, and shared across the internet within minutes. Reactions split dramatically, with some condemning it as inappropriate while others celebrated it as justified defiance. Regardless of interpretation, McIlroy's action represented more than simple retaliation. It marked a boundary being drawn against mob behavior. The situation that day extended far beyond typical sports rivalry. Witnesses described hearing obscene three-word chants, personal attacks about his family, crude comments targeting Lowry's appearance, and references to rumors involving McIlroy and other players. Much of what spectators yelled crossed lines that cannot be repeated in polite conversation. By Saturday, the atmosphere had completely deteriorated from spirited support into something dangerous and toxic. The first tee grandstand transformed into something resembling a drunken party rather than a golf venue, with failed attempts at organized chants and continuous verbal assault aimed squarely at McIlroy. This wasn't clever banter or playful rivalry. It was malicious hostility masked as patriotic support. Fans deliberately shouted during his backswing, attacked his personal life, and overwhelmed any European supporters with choreographed obscenities. Security personnel were doubled, but with nearly 50,000 people crowding the ropes, maintaining order proved nearly impossible. Lowry essentially became a protective partner rather than just a teammate, at one point physically moving toward hecklers on the 10th tee after someone crossed an unacceptable line. Golf had been transformed into its ugliest version, a battleground of taunts, threats, and deliberate disruptions designed not to uplift the American team, but to sabotage Europe's leading players. Yet McIlroy persevered through the noise, maintaining focus with visible tension in his jaw. By the 17th green, after enduring hours of sustained abuse, he snapped again, this time shouting profanity back at the crowd with raw intensity. There was nothing polished or diplomatic about it, but it was genuine. His message was unmistakable. He would meet aggression with equal force. Though the gesture lasted mere seconds, the controversy erupted for days afterward. American commentators quickly labeled McIlroy as lacking class and maturity, with some media outlets even demanding his removal from the competition. Social media analysts dissected every frame, calling for apologies as though they had never witnessed an athlete pushed beyond reasonable limits. However, this outrage seemed selective, conveniently overlooking the mob-like conduct of spectators who orchestrated chants, screamed during swings, and transformed the Ryder Cup into a hostile environment. European observers were quick to highlight the hypocrisy. Why were Americans celebrating their own fans' behavior while condemning McIlroy for defending himself? The debate transcended one raised finger to examine fan culture itself. What constitutes crossing the line? Should athletes silently endure abuse for entertainment purposes? McIlroy's supporters argued he simply reacted as any human would after hours of coordinated torment. The gesture wasn't childish petulance. It was honest reaction. For every critic labeling him a villain, thousands saw someone refusing to submit to bullies. The Ryder Cup had officially evolved from golf into gladiatorial theater, with McIlroy serving as both primary target and symbol of resistance. Saturday afternoon felt less like professional golf and more like an orchestrated siege. Every hole presented fresh harassment, with hecklers positioned at every corner. Organizers responded by positioning state troopers at tee boxes, but the crowd had momentum. They weren't supporting their team. They were engineering McIlroy's collapse, weaponizing timing by shouting during his backswing, and breaking silence with venom at crucial moments. Still, McIlroy refused to collapse. Instead, he adapted his approach. On the first tee, he blew the crowd a sarcastic kiss, mocking their efforts with a slight smile. The jeers only intensified. On the 16th hole, after another perfectly timed disruption, his patience shattered. He shouted forcefully for silence, his voice carrying across the fairway and captured for worldwide audiences. The chaos finally had confrontation. Players fought back. Lowry nearly broke through security barriers after another outburst, barely containing his fury. Europe wasn't just competing against 12 American golfers. They were battling 50,000 intoxicated, chanting saboteurs. The Ryder Cup, marketed as golf's most prestigious event, had deteriorated into tribal warfare with McIlroy at its center. When everything settled Saturday evening, McIlroy addressed media with composed but cutting words. He acknowledged that banter makes the Ryder Cup special, but clarified that fans screaming during backswings isn't passion, it's disrespect. Then came his most powerful statement. The gesture happened in the heat of the moment, but after what he endured all day, he would do it again. This perfect combination of honesty and defiance included no empty apology or pandering to critics. Just raw admission that he'd been pushed past human tolerance. He described hearing endless profane chants, slurs about his family, and even attacks on his career struggles. While officials did little, he and Lowry were left to manage their own match. McIlroy's candor shifted the entire conversation. No longer viewed as the villain, he became the victim who refused victimhood. European fans applauded his courage, while even neutral commentators admitted the abuse had crossed boundaries. By revealing his frustration, McIlroy transformed scandal into solidarity, rallying Team Europe around his defiance. The middle finger may have been the spark, but the real story ran deeper. Bethpage didn't just host a golf event. It unleashed a cultural collision. American fans weaponized patriotism into profanity, transforming the Ryder Cup into a gladiatorial arena. Cups were thrown, chants were coordinated, and reportedly 5 fans were ejected. Yet the European team refused intimidation. McIlroy's gestures, Lowry's near confrontations, even Tommy Fleetwood's cold stares all became symbols of resistance. This transcended fairways and greens. It became about maintaining dignity under siege. And despite everything, Europe dominated. The scoreboard favored them. The chants grew desperate. And by Sunday, victory belonged to McIlroy and his teammates. Still, the damage lingers. Captains called for calm, analysts demanded reforms, and descriptions of feral behavior left lasting impressions. For many, this Ryder Cup proved golf isn't immune to sports tribalism's ugly side. But for McIlroy, it proved something else. He isn't just a golfer, he's a fighter. And when pushed too far, he'll respond with more than just his clubs. That's the aftermath from golf's most controversial gesture. The question remains, did McIlroy embarrass the sport, or did he save it from becoming a circus? This Ryder Cup will certainly be remembered, though interpretations will vary wildly depending on perspective.
Second, examine the technical precision. Charlie's swing has been refined by some of the finest coaches in the game, and it shows brilliantly. His fundamentals are pristine. His ball striking is remarkably consistent. His short game demonstrates creativity and finesse. But what truly distinguished this round was his course management. He understood when to attack, when to play conservatively, when to take calculated risks, and when to accept par in advance. That's not something purely teachable. That's intuition. That's understanding the game at an instinctive level. Third, consider the physical preparation. Playing competitive golf in South Florida heat isn't exclusively about talent. It's about conditioning, proper hydration, stamina, Charlie appeared as fresh on the 18th hole as he did on the first. That doesn't occur accidentally. That's dedication to fitness, to thorough preparation, to treating his body with professional care, even while still in high school. Now, let's address the inevitable elephant that follows Charlie everywhere. The comparisons to Tiger, are they fair? Probably not. Tiger Woods is arguably the greatest golfer of all time. Expecting any teenager to replicate that trajectory is both unrealistic and unfair. But are the comparisons inevitable? Absolutely. And here's the fascinating aspect. Charlie seems to understand this better than most adults. He's not attempting to become Tiger version 2. He's striving to be Charlie version 1. Yes, he's learned from his father. Yes, he carries that genetic gift for the game. Yes, the swing shows similarities. But observe closely, and you'll notice Charlie developing his own distinctive style, his own personality on the course, his own methods of handling pressure and success. This 4-under performance at the South Florida PGA Championship might represent a defining moment in Charlie's young career. Not because it's the finest round he'll ever play if he continues developing. There will be many more rounds like this, and better, but because it arrived at a time when people were watching. When the stakes felt genuine, when he could have crumbled under pressure, but instead delivered excellence. These are the moments that construct a golfer's confidence, that build the mental resilience required for the highest levels of competition. Looking forward. What does this signify for Charlie's future? The path ahead is still being written, and that's what makes this journey so compelling to observe. Will he pursue collegiate golf, following the path of countless greats who refined their skills at the NCAA level? Will he make an early transition to professional golf, testing himself against the world's best players? Will he take time to develop further, to mature, to build his game away from intense spotlight before making major decisions? Nobody knows with certainty. That uncertainty is part of the fascination. What we do know definitively is this. Charlie Woods possesses the talent. That's no longer questionable. This performance proved it beyond any reasonable doubt. He has the mental toughness for under par under pressure confirms that. He has the work ethic. You don't develop a game this polished without countless hours of dedicated practice. He has the support system. A father who understands the highest levels of golf success. A family that keeps him grounded. Coaches who believe in his potential. All the essential pieces are in position. But talent alone doesn't guarantee success in golf. The game's history is littered with prodigies who never fulfilled their potential. With talented juniors who couldn't make the leap to professional success. With players who possessed all the physical tools but lacked something intangible when it mattered most. Golf is humbling. It's unforgiving. It rewards consistency, mental toughness, and resilience far more than pure talent alone. Charlie will face setbacks. He'll experience disappointing rounds. He'll deal with injuries, performance slumps, and self-doubt. Every golfer does. The question isn't whether those challenges will arrive, it's how he'll respond when they do. If this performance offers any indication, Charlie Woods is building the foundation to handle whatever comes next. The way he managed pressure throughout the round, the composure he displayed down the stretch, the maturity evident in his decision-making, these aren't qualities that simply disappear. These are building blocks. These are indicators of a player who's not just talented, but mentally equipped for future challenges. And that's what makes this story so exciting. We're not merely watching a talented young person play impressive golf. We're potentially witnessing the early chapters of a career that could be truly extraordinary. The golf world cherishes compelling narratives, and Charlie Woods is providing one for the ages. A legendary father, gifted son, astronomical expectations, and the pressure of honoring a name that resonates throughout golf history. It's dramatic. It's captivating. And after his 4-under performance at the South Florida PGA Championship, it's undeniably real. Charlie Woods isn't just Tiger's son anymore. He's Charlie Woods, legitimate golfer, and the future looks incredibly promising. This is merely the beginning. And if you're not paying attention yet, you should start immediately. Because something special is happening, and you'll want to say you watched it unfold from the very beginning.